Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Today, we're here to talk about the pillars of democracy. What are the pillars of democracy? The pillars of democracy are important elements that support the democratic government system so that it can run well. Without these pillars, democracy will not be able to stand firm and practice its basic principles such as freedom, equality, and justice. In the context of Indonesia, the pillars of democracy are often referred as the principle of Pancasila democracy, which are rooted in the values of Pancasila and the 1945 Constitution. In addition, in international practice, the pillars of democracy are also include the system of distribution of governmental power, tripartitia, which is legislative, executive, and judicial. So let's get into the one of the first pillar of democracy. So the first pillar of democracy is democracy with God. God as the first precept of Pancasila is the main basis in the administration of the Indonesian state. This value animates all aspects of the life of the nation and state and become a philosophical, judicial, and ethical foundation in every policies and action of the states. So the implementations are one of the first one are religious education is taught in school. Uh, re- Religious education is a compulsory subject at the level of education, both in public and private schools. This regulates in the law uh, in the national education system law, number 20 of 2003, which stated that every student has the right to receive religious education following the religion that they believe in and is taught by educators of the same religion. The main purpose of religion education in schools is to form students into beings who believe in God, fear God, and have a noble character. Leaders and officials swear an oath in the name of God. Every public official in Indonesia, ranging from the president and minister to the state civil apparatus, is required to take an oath or promise of office by mentioning God's name according to their respective religious. This oath has constitutional and spiritual meaning as a form of moral and ethical responsibility to God, the nation, and the people. The third is moral value and religious ethics are the basis for policy making. Religious values are such as justice, empathy, responsibility, and integrity are the foundation for public policy making in Indonesia. Policymakers are expected to make religious teaching a guideline in dealing with ethical dilemmas and public interests so that the resulting policies are fair, moral, and in favor of the common good. In society, the application of religious value in public policy most also pay attention to the principle of inclusivity and justice, so not to so it cannot cause discrimination. So the second one is democracy in intelligence. Democracy is run on spiritual intelligence, intellect, and emotion, not mere physical strength. Democracy with intelligence is one of the main pillars of democracy in Indonesia, which emphasize that the implementation of democracy should not be carried out solely based on the strength of instinct, muscle, muscle strength, or the strength of masses alone. On the contrary, democracy m- must be carried out by prioritizing various forms of intelligence, for example, spiritual intelligence, alquia, intelligent, rational, intelligent, and emotional intelligence. So the implementation for this are voters are given political education to vote rational and to vote rational, not emotional. The government and related institution provide political education for the public, especially novice voters, so that they understand the importance of voting on a rational assessment uh, of the candidate's program and track record, not based on emotional sentiment or momentary influence. For example, though counseling seminars, through counseling seminar and educational campaigns that emphasize the importance of understanding the vision and mission of the parties or legislative candidates. This political education also aim to increase the critical awareness of voters, so they are not easily influenced by fake news or hoax, so they will not be misled. Next are debates and political campaigns prioritize ideas and programs, not hoax or hate speech. In the process of public campaigns and debate, candidates and political parties are expected to convey clear and uh, measurable idea, ideas, vision, and work programs. Healthy political debates focus on rational arguments and valid data, not attacking opponents' personal or spreading false information. The General Elected Commission and the Election Supervisor Agency play an active role in supervising and cracking down on negative campaign practice such as hoax, hate speech, and politics that can damage unity and democracy. The community is empowered through media literacy and education. The government, educational institution, and civil society organization promotes media literacy program to improve people's ability to send out correct and trustworthy information. Media literacy help people to not easily provoked by fake news, hoax, or propaganda that can divide and cause social conflict. Formal and non-formal education are also include material on democracy, the right and obligation of the citizen, and how to practice intelligently in political and social life.
Number three, democracy with people sovereignty. Democracy with people sovereignty means that the highest power in the country is in the hands of the people. The people have the right to determine the direction and policy of the state, either directly or through their elected representative. In this system, the people are not only the object of the policy, but also the subject who are active in the decision making process. Now we're getting into the implementation. The first one is direct, honest, and fair election. General elections are the main means of the people to channel their sovereignty. Election must be held directly, publicly, freely, secretly, honestly, and fairly. This means that every citizen has the right to vote and be elected without pressure, manipulation, or discrimination. Number two, people aspiration through representative in the DPR, DPD, and DPRD. The people can convey their needs, complaints, and suggestions for development through their representative in the legislature. People representatives are obliged to accommodate and fight for the interests of the community in decision-making forums, such as commission meeting, plenary session, or the formation of law. Number three, public participation in development planning deliberation. Master Bank is an official forum or residents to be directly involved in designing regional development programs, starting from the sub-district or village level to the national level. This shows that people have the space to determine development priorities in the region in a particular and transparent manner. Number four, about democracy with the rule of law. The rule of law is the principle that all the action and government and citizen must be based on applicable law. In a health democracy, the law is the ultimate guideline, not the power of a particular individual or group. This principle guarantees justice and legal certainty and the protection of human rights. The implementation are: number one is about all citizens, including official law, subject to the law. No one is immune from the law, including high-ranking state officials. In a democracy that upholds the rule of law, the law applies equally to everyone. This creates public trust in the legal system and prevents abuse of power. Number two, law enforcement is carried out fairly without selective cuts. The law must be enforced objectively and professionally, regardless of political, economic, or social background. Law enforcers, such as police, prosecutor, and judges, must work independently without interference from any parties so that all the people can truly feel justice.
Democracy with separation of powers. Separation of powers is a basic principle of democracy to prevent the occurrence of absolute or authoritarian power. State power is divided into three main branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. Each branch has its function, authorities, and roles, but they supervise and balance each other. The goal is that no one institution has absolute power. Implementation in Indonesia. Legislative power, held by the House of Representatives, which has the function of making laws, supervising government and policies, and drafting the state budget. Executive power, held by the President and Vice President as head of state and government, who execute laws and formulate national policies. Judicial power, held by the Supreme Court and the Constitutional Court to carry out judicial function independently. Supervisory institutions, such as the KPK, the Ombudsman of the Republic of Indonesia, and the BPK, which carry out the role of controller of state policy and finance. These institutions are run independently and should not to be interfered with by political power. Democracy with human rights. True democracy respects and protects the human right of every citizen without discrimination. The Indonesia Constitution, namely the 1945 Constitution, expressly guarantees human rights as an important part of the life of the nation and state. Human rights are not only protected but must also be fulfilled by the state as a form of respect for human dignity. Implementation in Indonesia. Protection of civil rights. Indonesian citizens are guaranteed the right to express their opinions, embrace their religion according to their belief, and assemble associate. This is reflected in media freedom, religious freedom, and the existence of civil society organizations. Human rights law enforcement. The state has a National Commission of Human Rights to deal with the human rights violation and encourage the protection and promotion of human rights. Cases of human rights violation in the past are still of public concern and encourage further legal reform. Guaranteeing of the right of vulnerable groups. The government also provides special protection for minority groups such as indigenous people, people with disabilities, women, and children through special laws and affirmative programs to prevent them from discrimination.
So the next slide is democracy with an independent court. An independent court system to ensure legal justice for all parties. Implementation. First, judges are free from political, economic, or other power pressures, that meaning that judges must make decisions based on law and conscience, not due to the influence of political parties, official businessmen, or certain groups. And the second is the judicial process is open, fair, and transparent. meaning that the trial must be conducted openly to the public with the right of defense for all parties, and documentation that can be accessed by the public so that there are no irregularities. And the third implementation is protection for victims and justice for all parties, which means that the legal system must provide a sense of security and protection for victims of crime, as well as ensure that all parties, including defendants, receive fair and equal treatment in the eyes of the law. And the next slide is democracy with regional autonomy. Regions are given the authority to regulate their households as a form of meeting central power. Implementation. First, local governments can set budgets, regulation, and programs according to local needs. It means that it, each region has the authority to prepare the regional revenue and expenditure budget or A.P.D, make regional regulation or PERDA, and run programs according to the condition and needs of the local community. And the second implementation is the local communities are involved in the regional development planning process. It means that in local democracy, citizen participation is essential. The community can participate in development planning, deliberation, or musrenbang, provide input and supervise the running of local government. And the third implementation is financial decentralization and authority. It means that the central government does not hold all control. There is a distribution of budgets and authorities to the regions to be more effective and efficient in public service.
So, the next pillar is democracy with prosperity. Democracy with prosperity is a form of democracy that not only emphasizes political participation but also aims to create economic prosperity for all people. In the system, the government plays an active role in ensuring that the results of development are enjoyed equally by all levels of society. Democracy that only allows space for political freedom without paying attention to economic welfare has the potential to cause inequality. A good democracy must ensure that every citizen has access to jobs, education, and basic services. Therefore, economic welfare is an important pillar to realize a complete and just democracy. The implementation of this pillar is first, poverty alleviation programs through social assistance, community economic empowerment, and skills training. Second, job creation by encouraging investment and infrastructure projects. Third, inclusive economic policies are not only on the side of the elite, but also take into account the interests of small communities. Last, equitable distribution of development between regions so that remote areas are not left behind by big cities. The next pillar is democracy with social justice. A socially just democracy is a system of government that guarantees equal rights and treatment for all citizens without discrimination. This democracy emphasizes the importance of equal opportunity and legal protection, especially for vulnerable groups such as poor and minorities. Democracy is not only about the majority vote, but also about the protection of the rights of small groups. Social justice means that no one is treated discriminatorily because of social status, ethnicity, religion, or economic condition. The state must be actively present to create a fair and equitable system for all. The implementation of this pillar is first, subsidies and free services such as education and health for people in need. Second, agrarian reform and social security for all, equal distribution of resource ownership and protection of people's welfare. Last, fair law enforcement, including the protection of minorities and marginalized groups from legal or social discrimination.
Okay, my name is Erwanto Bulu. I will explain about the challenge. Challenge in the implementation of the pillars of democracy. Although Indonesia adheres to a democratic system, its implementation still faces several challenges, such as money politics that hard-fought election. Money politics is the biggest challenge in running election because in the course of the election it causes political injustice in society and unhealthy politics. For example, by South, the people are given money by the caleg so that they can vote for them. Corruption in state institutions that weakness public. So, corruption is the biggest challenge in the country because corruption can take away the rights of the people that should belong to them. Corruption also has impact such as slow development. Corruption can cause obstacles to development because the resources used for development are instead used for personal interests. And next, limited freedom of the press and opinion. The limitation of the press and opinion are obstacles in democracy where the government restrict the public from expressing their opinions in public place and to the public through social media. The limitation of the press and opinion have impact such as one hindering democracy with with restriction on the press and opinion, the public cannot express their opinions and cause obstacles to democracy. Two, restriction on people's rights. Restricting the public from expressing opinions and the press is an act that limits the rights of the public. And next, lack of political education in the community. Lack of education is a challenge in democracy because a society that lacks political education causes people to be less effective in making decisions. Polarization and intolerance that threaten unity. Okay, polarization is the action of a group that has different views in terms of politics, religion, and society. And intolerance is when an individual or groups does not respect others socially, culturally, or religiously. The impact of intolerance and polarization leads to conflict within the state and a lack of unity in society. So, in conclusion, the pillars of democracy are the basis for the support of the democratic system, which includes people's sovereignty, the rule of law, separation of powers, human rights, as well as freedom of the press and public participation. In Indonesia, its implementation is reflected in free election, a system of government based on the law, interregulatory state institution, the guarantee of human rights, and the effective role of the media and the public in the political process. Although we still face challenges, these principles continue to be a strength needed to realize a healthy